introductory and then begin.
Good morning. This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission Advisory Review Panel convened to review applications submitted for the Regional Initiative Grants for fiscal year 2021. I'm Kathy Anderson, a former Arts Commissioner from Indianapolis. Today is April 27th, 2021, and we are meeting by conference call and streaming live from a webinar. We welcome applicants and other guests who may be listening in today and would like to remind everyone that there is to be no direct contact or conversation about the evaluation and disposition of applications before, during, or after the panel meeting between panelists and applicants. At this time, we would like the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state. I'll call out your name. Jolivet, Anderson, Droning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jolivet. I'm a PhD candidate in American Studies at Purdue University, where I teach women's studies and American studies. I'm also a mom here in Tippecanoe County, West Lafayette, Indiana. Glad to be with everyone today.
Welcome. Brian Russelberg.
Yeah, good morning. I am from Plainfield. I'm also the president of the Hendricks County Arts Council. I'm a graduate of Heron School of Art and Design. I'm a painter.
Thank you, Brian. Ellen Rampala.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ellen Rampala. I'm a library media specialist at Westville Schools, and I am from Michigan City, Indiana. Glad to be here today.
Welcome, Ellen. Caitlin Coyne.
Hi there, my name is Caitlin Coyne. I run the Ignite studio at the Hamilton East Public Library in Fishers, and I live in Marion County, so I have a foot in both Marion and Hamilton counties.
Thank you, Caitlin. And Elias Garza.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elias Garza. I am studying art history and museum studies at IUPUI. And I'm also a curatorial intern at the Idlejour Museum. And I live in Indianapolis.
Thank you, Elias. And our staff, Stephanie Haynes.
Hello, I am Stephanie Haynes, and I am the grants program manager for this region, Region 7.
Deanna.
Hello, I'm Deanna Polsma, the Grants Research and IT Manager at the IAC.
Thank you, Deanna. And Chapin.
Hi, Chapin Schnick, the Contracts Operations and IT Assistant, and I'm here in a technology role.
Sorry, I'm getting an emergency alert on my phone. Otherwise, it was turned off. Okay, stop. All right. Thank you, staff. Chapin, did you get to finish before that started?
All good.
Okay, all right. Okay, now we'll begin the panel review. This is how the process will work. I will announce the application we will review and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the application does not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We're not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives panelists bring to the table. After the second reader is finished, I will open the discussion to the full panel to offer their perspectives. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, we will be placing the panelist's video and audio on hold during the application's evaluation. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we will ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It is common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. And I'd like to ask the panelists, once they've entered their scoring, you could just raise your hand, let me know so I know that you've completed. I'd appreciate that. Are there any questions? Okay. Let's begin. Now we'll review application number 1, Arts with a Purpose. Thank you, Jolivette. Would you please give your discussion?
Yes, once again, good morning. So this is the Indiana Creatives Video Exhibition and Archive. I'm seeing that it was a multidisciplinary project. Want to say that I feel that I was really able to envision what this project was trying to do or saying that it wanted to accomplish. The IDEA, inclusion, diversity, equity, access was present, and I could see that as well. I also could see that if I'm reading it correctly, I think they're about on the 4th rung of the ladder for the community part of it, where they have established long-lasting relationships with people in the community. And I think that this grant seems like it would be able to even strengthen those relationships even further. See, I can't read my handwriting. I apologize for the pause. I can see how the funds would be used. And so I think it was written well enough for me to be able to envision and to understand what this project was about and what it was trying to do. Okay, so those are my handwritten notes, and I'll confirm that with what I've written here. This project appears to demonstrate the majority of IDEA components. The opportunity to fully participate and availability to any and all abilities could be questioned a little bit, though, because I did not see the outreach to those with disabilities, how that would be done directly or strategically, but I do see that there is a mention that it is actually there. Mentioned the community aspect already. And I appreciate that this is an archive and that it will benefit Indiana artists through technology. And I think yeah, that's what I have so far, and good work.
Thank you. And Brian, our second reader, Brian Russelberg.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Jolivette said. I like the fact that, you know, I like that there are videos that they can be viewed. The fact that they're free for 10 months, free access. The only thing I'm thinking, and it's not a huge thing, is, you know, a lot of my friends are saying, you know, there's some fatigue in watching videos. And I wondered after herd immunity, you know, how much that affect video and fatigue and Zoom and things like that. So these will be on videos, and I think people will be ready. I think they said in August for more live things. I understand, and I liked what they were doing, but that's the only thing I had. And otherwise, I think the idea will be successful.
And I appreciate it. Just to clarify, this is listed as an archive.
Yeah.
And so it is actually something that people will be able to go to years and years from now for genealogy purposes, for, you know, for whatever purposes. And as a PhD student who has to go out through archives, I truly appreciate archives. So, but I think that it's phenomenal that the technology can be used to preserve Indiana history in that particular way as well. So fatigue, yes. So I'll push back and we can have a tug of war here a bit of the minds, Brian, if that's okay.
Oh,
but
we're
that
good.
that archival component, I think is absolutely crucial for the history component of it.
And like I said, it's just a little one. It's just the only thing I have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm tired of Zoom too.
Just remembering, we're evaluating on the criteria.
Mhm.
So, okay, the open discussion to the panel for any additional comments or new comments.
One thing I really appreciated about this proposal was the opportunity for youth artists to participate alongside adult artists, which I thought would be a very impactful and meaningful experience for those budding artists to see themselves sort of as peers amongst more maybe professionalized adults.
Seeing the discussion is finished, I'll ask the panelists to please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Got it, Caitlin. Just a reminder, if you could just give me a thumbs up when you finished so I can see it. Okay. Ellen? Okay, great. Ready to move on? Our second application is the Ballet Theater of Carmel Academy, Pre-Professional Ballet and Dance Training. Our first reader is Ellen Rampala. Ellen?
All right, sorry about that. Trying to unmute myself here on the phone. Good morning. The Ballet Theater of Carmel Academy, the project title, Cinderella Full-Length Ballet. I thought the purpose was very clear. It benefits to both performers and audience were solidly stated and are meaningful and impactful. And the proposed project will financially benefit local artists. As far as community engagement and IDEA, they stated where they were doing many performances in libraries. That was specifically mentioned in the application. And when I looked on their website, they talked about how they had performances, or they would be doing performances in libraries, nursing homes, and assisted living. Free admission for low income groups shows an attempt to reach out to a wide array of people. So very good use of IDEA strategies. I wasn't sure, though, it wasn't very clear how BTCA was getting input from the community. I'm sure that they are getting some kind of input about their performances, but I don't think that I saw that in the application. And as far as the project's success or impact, I wasn't sure what tools they were using to measure that. And those are both things that were, I think, asked in the community engagement and IDEA section. As far as project management, I'm going to switch over here. Hang on just a second. For project management, it's stated that this is a work in progress, which is great. It looks like there's some June performance dates. It also appears that BTCA has had continued success with their performances and programs over the years, so that's great too. I felt like, though, if they gave a little bit more staff overview and information about the lead project manager, that might be a little bit better. That was asked for. And then other than the June performance dates, I didn't quite see a timeline of events, even though I'm sure that they're ready to go with that performance. I also noted for the request, they requested $6,000, and I thought $5,000 was the maximum amount for the grant. And then looking at the itemized project budget, the cash income and the cash expenses, at least what I was looking at, it didn't look like it matched up. I thought they were asking for $6,500, or they had $6,500 in their cash income, and expenses were $8,500. So I had a question about that too. I think that's all I have there.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. Our second reader is Caitlin.
Completely agree with Alan's summation of this. And just to offer some feedback to this group, Giving us more information in your timeline and with your staff expertise will paint a better picture of how this project will happen. And that was really something that I missed in this application.
Thank you, Caitlin. Anyone else on the panel have something they'd like to add? All right, then I'll ask the panelists to please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Are we all finished? Okay, great. All right. Our next is the number 3, the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site. Our first reader is Brian Russelberg.
Yeah, this is the Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site for the Candlelight at the Presidential Site series, which is a performance and theater. They're based here in Indianapolis, and they're using funding for their theatrical season of 21-22. Mission is to create public participation in the system through shared stories and cultures. The plays are written locally by a local artist. They're expecting an audience of about 1,600 visitors for 20 performances and 74 showtimes. So they have interactive performances by local amateur artists, and they said they have an awareness of the underserved communities, although there are not many on staff. But there's 80-something volunteers, and then they're going to have sales to contribute. So I like that the director is contributing part of her honorarium back. It shows there's a involvement and a passion for what she does. I like that the writers are local. I like that the actors are local. And I know that the costumes and sets are very expensive. So I think what they're asking for is pretty much in line for what a normal cost would be for theatrical.
Right, Brian. Our second reader is Elias Garza.
Yes, I really like that they acknowledge their lack of diversity within their theater troupe, and that they are trying to figure out ways and how to diversify it a little bit more. I had some questions on things that weren't really clear. One of them was how they were seeking to, I guess, involve the diverse audience into their performances. This is a project that has been going on for 17 years, which is really amazing. So I was just wondering how they could maybe go a step further in diversifying the theater company and the playwrights especially that they are hiring, which seem to be the same ones over and over. But overall, I feel like this is a really great project, and it's quite a unique experience to be using the site as a stage.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the panel? Okay, seeing that discussion is finished, I'll ask the panelists to please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Elias, Jolivet, you finished? Okay, great. Number 4 is Brick Street Poetry Incorporated, and our first reader is Elias.
So with Brick Street Poetry, they are doing a local partnership with the Central Indiana Land Commission, which I think is really good. They're also hiring or paying Indiana residing artists, a total of 9 artists. They seem to be using their past experience with similar programs in order to create this program, which is really good. So I think they know what to do, and they have a really good staff to manage it. Timeline seemed to be detailed. And then they're also thinking about using surveys at the end of each performance to measure their success with the attendees. One question that I had, or that wasn't clear, was how they were targeting their audience. They explained that they wanted to target African American audience members, and I wasn't sure how these members sort of were communicated in the area of the Olive Woods, which is where the event is taking place. So I wasn't sure if there was a percentage that they could have maybe given to make it more clear as to how they came up with that target audience. That's it.
Alias, would you mind calling in via phone? Your connection's just a little bit choppy. I think I got most of that review though. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Chapin can help you with
Yeah, if he looks
what
in
you
his
need to-
chat, I put
Mhm.
a little bit of the how-to for that.
Okay, thanks. Our second reader on this application is Jolivet. Jolivet?
Yes, hi. I basically agree with what Elias has said thus far. My concern was not major, primarily the same as his concern. And what I initially wrote was that reaching out as a suggestion, and to be clear, reaching out to African American audiences does not necessarily equate with working with them. So the notion of idea and the community engagement part, should have some attention maybe focused on more deliberate and intentional engagement throughout the year, and building those types of relationships. And I noticed that they said that they would be reaching out to African Americans through the Black church. And once again, that is a good idea. There's deep tradition and deep culture that is rooted in the African American experience through the Black church and through various cultural traditions. So I can see how that would work, but there are also other groups, especially with the nature of the project, Black folks who do outdoors and nature stuff that would go along with the theme of their arborealist airs, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So, but that's pretty much what I have. I just co-sign. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'll open it to the panel for any discussion. Okay, seeing that the discussion is finished, I ask you to please finalize your scores and update your online comments.
Elias, would you mind trying out your audio just real quick? Make sure it's working. Oh,
Oh, you just remuted. There we go.
Oh, could you hear me now?
Now,
oh, much better. Thank you.
Okay,
Perfect.
perfect. Thank you.
everyone finished? Ellen? Finished, Ellen? Okay. Going on to our next applicant, Carmel Christkindlmarkt, and our first reader is Brian Russelberg.
Yeah, the Carmel Christkindlmarkt incorporated with the traditional outpouring performances and the school visits. It's a traditional retreat. Looks like it's free, meeting notably in Carmel in November. The musical instruments are accompanied by the cultural costumes of the German heritage. Looks like it's led by Professor Peggy Demers from Sam Houston State College, which is in Texas. And it says the musicians are some from Indiana, some from Michigan. But it's just notable that they're going to be visiting the 3 high schools, Carmel, Lawrence, and the Center for Inquiry. And the tickets are free, and they're going to be meeting outside unless the weather's inclement for a crowd of about 20,000. It says it's been going on 4 years, and it's a beloved event. On a personal note, I think the musical instruments made me smile. They're kind of fun. I'm a little concerned about the money staying in Indiana, especially with the lead based in Texas, and some of the musicians are from Indiana, but some are from Michigan, and they're in several places. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Brian. Our second reader is Ellen Rampala.
Hi, yeah, I agree with everything that Brian said. It seems like, as far as project management goes, the staff has been consistent since 2017, 2018. They each had their own outlined role and defined responsibilities put out there very well. This program seems like it's been a big success in prior years, so it'd be safe to say that they've done really well with it. It'd be helpful, though, to know maybe the kind of prior experience maybe that the staff has had with this type of programming and what their credentials were. I also wondered, as far as their timeline goes, and again, I know this is a project that has been done for a couple of years, but what is the applicant's timeline for planning with the local teachers? I think it's great that they've gone down into Marion County and have added on some high schools there in that county, and that they're wanting to expand to 5 days in school versus the 3 that they've had in years past. But a little bit more information about the timeline might be helpful. And I think that's it there that I had on my end.
Okay. Any other discussion from the panel, the rest of the panel?
Yes, I wanted to just briefly comment on well, you know what, it's already been said. I just had a question about, it was not clear how many artists from Indiana will be benefiting. And that was something that I needed more clarity on in the application of this grant, and more clarity on the IDA strategies for including more a description of the community served, populations served, low income, you know, ability, disability, whether it's mental or physical, would have been helpful to get a clear picture of who the group would serve.
Thank you.
And to add and build on that feedback a little bit, the narrative, I think, attempts to convey the information about their approach to idea strategies, but I don't think their marketing materials reflect any of that work at all. And I wished that it would have, because that can be a big way to bring people into events like this.
I wanted to make another comment on the artistic benefit. In my notes, I have down that, yes, the ensemble is led by an out-of-state professor, I think the professor from Texas. And then I also had written down that 6 to 10 performers, both from Indiana and Michigan, would benefit from this.
All right, seeing that discussion is finished, please finalize your scores and update your online comments, panelists. Thank you. Okay. Caitlin? Ready? Okay. Sure. Okay. Don't want to rush you. You just take your time, whatever you need. Number 6 is the application is Center Stage Community Theater. And our first reader is Caitlin Coyne.
Yes, Center Stage Community Theater. The project title was The Guys, a performance of a play that was originally produced off-Broadway. Their mission was to foster a sense of cultural appreciation. They've been running for 26 years with promoting a general appreciation of dramatic arts. This project would be directed and performed largely by volunteers. And they noted that they're the only community theater in their area offering experiences like this. There didn't seem to be much financial benefit to Indiana artists. I think primarily because this is a project done with volunteer work, volunteer labor. But that was hard for me in scoring this, because I really saw how this could provide benefit to the artists, but not necessarily based on their financial gain. Because I didn't anticipate that that was really sort of the driving motivation for their participation in this project. And I wondered if we had to review this solely through the lens of their financial benefit when I was reviewing that section. I note that their marketing materials included a variety of formats, including some creative ones like placemats at restaurants, which really gave a sense that they are embedded in their local community, and that they're offering free attendance to first responders. However, I didn't feel that they really addressed the IDA strategies that were required or asked about in this application at all. And I kind of felt like they were falling just in that bottom rung of the IAC community engagement ladder, where arts are available, but they aren't necessarily developing intentional collaborations. So that ladder I found really helpful in reviewing a lot of these applications, and I would just encourage this group to kind of go back to that tool as you think about how you're creating these projects. In terms of their project management, I would have liked to see more detail about who their staff was. They were very brief in their response to that question, who will make this project happen? And I think we saw this, that it left me with just a lot of questions about I'm sure they have expertise and prior experience, but I just don't know what that is based on what they submitted in this application to know that they have the ability to do this project. But they did give a fairly detailed overview of their timeline and their process. However, again, I felt like they could have been a little bit more explicit with start dates and end dates for things like auditions and rehearsals and all of those sort of time markers of what it takes to make a project like this happen. So that's sort of my overview.
Thank you, Caitlin. Our second reader is Brian Russelberg.
Yeah, let me say too, I think the idea is noble, memorializing that people lost their lives in 911, and especially that it's presented to first responders for free. I think it's a very noble thing. But in the application was asked, how was the community involved with the event? You know, and I went back and forth with this. So the play is written from an author from New York. And then, you know, even though the staff or the people doing the play are here local, you know, they're not going to be involved. And then I had to go back and forth, and I'm wondering if 911 affected everybody. You know, I think everybody suffered a little trauma from that event, even though it all happened far away. We saw it on the news. So, you know, I kind of am back and forth. I don't know that anybody, I don't think they've asked the community how this works. I like the idea that they're inviting the first responders, but as far as community involvement, asking people, what do you think about this? I don't think they addressed that. As far as the cost, theatrical lights, royalties, costumes, scripts, those are expensive, knowing something a little bit about theater. So I think what they're asking for is in line for what it cost. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Anyone else on the panel have additional comments, concerns?
One comment, and this was something that wasn't on the application, is how they could possibly maybe cater to people of different ages and abilities. The free admission is nice, and it's been mentioned several times, but I wish that they had been more clear about their idea strategies for this specific show.
Okay.
My comment is similar to everyone else's, but just a tad bit different. It would have been nice to see if the idea strategies could have incorporated an intergenerational component to teach younger people about the history of 9/11. And I think that would have made for a stronger application as well.
Thank you. Okay, seeing that the discussion is finished, I ask all panelists to please finalize your scores and update your comments. Okay. All done? Elias, finished? Okay, I don't mean to rush you. I just, if I know for sure that you're all going to let me know, I can just sit quietly and wait. So thanks. Number 7 is the City of Indianapolis Office of Finance and Management. Our first reader is Joe Levette.
My apologies. I have handwritten, I have computer notes, so I'm trying to be as thorough as possible here. So it's Garfield Arts and Music Festival. It's a fair festival with multidisciplinary arts and artistic endeavors happening. I was able, once again, as I said previously, it's important to be able to envision what is taking place and what is going on. I was able to do that with the description of what the Indianapolis parks would be doing to expand the Garfield Park Music Festival. Connecting communities is in their mission. And I thought that connected well to the idea, the notion of the IDEA. And I think it was backed up pretty well as far as how they would work on having IDEA strategies incorporated. So it looks like here that I put, let's see, I had some questions about marketing materials, and I don't see my notes right now. Give me just a second. Okay, so the question it wasn't regarding marketing, my apologies. So I wrote that the grant mentions IDEA, but it seems to be lacking in a specific strategy for including more Black, Indigenous people of color and LGBTQ plus artists, community partners, and audience members. So those groups I think were actually mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, pardon me. Accessibility issues and for physical disabilities are definitely addressed in the grant. So that's why I was making those particular comments. And I had no comments about the budget at the project management part. That looks really solid. And I was able to follow that actual names of people and their experience and, you know, how long they've done this. I was kind of thinking about what could be done additionally regarding feedback to the event from participants. Yep, that's what I have. Hold on. Yep, that's what I have at this time.
Thank you. Our second reader is Ellen Rimpala. Ellen?
What Jolivet said was everything that I was thinking too with the application. I really appreciated too how their narrative about how much this event has grown over the past 4 years, from just a small community event with maybe not even 200 people there to now thousands of people that they're pulling in from surrounding counties. That was pretty effective. And I did appreciate too their project management part with the solid budget and everything outlined. It was very clear.
Do any other panelists have comments they'd like to add? Okay, please finalize your scores, panelists, and update your online comments.
We're about halfway through. I'm just gonna check in and see if anyone needs a quick break. We could take a 3-minute break if you need it, or we can keep on going. Doesn't seem like anyone's begging for a break. Kathy?
No, I'm good. Anybody else?
I'm good.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. Let's go on to applicant number 8. The City of Shelbyville Parks and Recreation Department. Our first reader is Ellen Rimpala.
All right, the Shelbyville Parks and Recreation Department, the project title is Music in the Park Series 2022. I thought the purpose of the project was very clearly stated. The project will help to financially benefit 4 groups of artists, 2 from Indiana, and 2 groups from elsewhere. As far as community engagement and IDEA, I thought that it was great that this project was originally inspired by attendees from the Action Club. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. The applicant mentioned communities invited are endless. I'm wondering what are some of those communities that they're reaching out to as we go along with this program. As far as project management goes, it sounds like a solid team of people are working to put this project together. I'm wondering the special events coordinator's relevant experience in history with the Shelbyville Parks and Rec. That would be nice to know, I think, on this application.
Thank you, Ellen. Our second reader is Caitlin Coyne.
I agree with Ellen's assessment that they have a great team in place, but I thought that the project timeline lacked specificity, and I wondered if this is because they've already done a lot of the planning. I wanted to know more about how that planning was happening. And I wished that they would have probed deeper into idea strategies overall. I think that they've done a lot in terms of making sure that they're ADA compliant and they're welcoming people of multiple levels of ability. But to see them reach out to people of color, Indigenous people, and LGBTQ community, that was really lacking in this application.
Any other comments, panel, additional or?
I had a question. They mentioned also a Shakespearean play in there, Much Ado About Nothing, and they didn't go into much detail about that. They said they were going to include the play, and that's about the last they said about that. And then I also said, was it just two of the bands are from Indiana? I don't have much more in my notes of the two more not from Indiana and where that money was going. But that's the only comment I have.
I agree with that, Brian, and I would also just add to that they mentioned that they have done surveys in the past, and I would encourage them to share those statistics in their applications and the things, be a little bit more specific in the things that they learned from those surveys and how that's informing their work.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other comments, panel?
Yeah, I wrote a note, and y'all help me if I'm misunderstanding something here with the budget. I only see $3,150 for Indiana artists out of a $5,000 request. I'm not sure if that means anything or if that matters. And I think I had to do some calculations in my head to try to figure that out. So it may not be accurate. So if anyone else was confused by that, or if there's something dealing with the I'm not sure how where I got that from at the present moment, but there was a question about how many, in my mind, about how many Indiana artists would be benefiting, and I just needed that to be a little bit more clear in the application.
Okay, panelists, please finalize your scores and update your comments, your online comments. Thank you. Are we all done, Joliet? Are you still working? It's okay if you need more time.
For some reason, my computer is going slow. It's saving evaluation. It will not, it's moving really slow for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
Is that the grant, like the grant software seems to be going a little bit slower for me as well. So I don't know. I don't think it's just your computer.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe it's because all of us are in at the same time, but it won't even load at this point. So
I was having similar issues. Okay.
Okay, I can go back to the dashboard now. Let me,
Now take your
Yeah.
time and we'll get it figured out.
okay.
You can have it? Okay, great, great. Now we'll persist. This is important that we get this right. All right. Number 9 is Connor Prairie Museum. And our first reader is Brian Russelberg.
Yeah,
Before
the
you
Connor.
move on, actually,
sorry.
I can't get my next application to open in the survey system. I'm having difficulty.
Yeah, we'll just pause for 1 second.
I'm getting a server error application page.
Okay, can you refresh your browser web address?
Oh, now I think I've been kicked out of it. Sorry, guys.
Okay, we will let Caitlin log back in. Does everyone else have Connor Prairie open? Okay, cool. We'll just wait.
Okay. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, everyone.
No apologies necessary. We're all dealing with technology, heavyweight technology with all the Zooming and everything. So no problem. This is important. Our next application is the Connor Prairie Museum. And our first reader is Brian Russelberg.
Yeah, the Connor Prairie Museum with the museum theater is a concert, performance, and reading. It looks like it was established in 2015 on the grounds in the park. Theatrical manager Merlin Bell, very accomplished, and the Asante Children's Theater with the Fonseca Theater, both from Indy. And they create performances to explore topics of race and social justice. And these are performed to local youth and adults each year. And it looks like the supervision of Connor Prairie administration evaluates these performances. They give input and for the future events and direction. It looks like WFYI is involved too with the filming. And it was very interesting. The video also they presented with the activists in residence, and some of those were very good. Really, there's a young man, and I won't go into detail about that, but I thought some of those are just amazing. I like that the tickets were at $5, and that opens things up, allows actually a more open audience, a more diverse audience, a larger audience. The timeline to me looked a little vague, but it looks like it was in process with auditions from the Asante and Fonseca. Mentioned here also that from the Asante and Fonseca here locally, that there were 80% artists of color, which I think is amazing. And it looks like they're serving the underserved, and it looks like they will be major benefits. Again, I know I'm like a broken record, but I know about the cost of performance and costumes. They're not cheap. So I think everything here is in line for what they ask.
Thank you, Brian. Our second reader is Elias.
Going off of Brian, I really appreciated those partnerships that the museum is working with Fonseca and Asante. Overall, it seems like a very collaborative project. They are trying to reach diverse audiences and cast a diverse set of actors, but also tell diverse stories as well of people that are disenfranchised and of different racial backgrounds. And I truly appreciate that. I think it's a really great opportunity for a lot of people to come and see their shows because of their affordable admission cost. And I actually thought the breakdown of the timeline and budget were nicely done, and I felt like it was pretty clear.
Thank you. Any other comments by panelists?
I just wanted to mention that I think the collaborations were phenomenal. I'll just piggyback that. But when I looked at the social media that was attached to the grant, it was a bit shocking because of the social media that I did review, I did not see the representation of these groups. And that was on the day that I looked at it. So it could have been different or something along those lines, but it seemed like there was almost an invisibility or an absence of this work on the social media. So I was a bit concerned about how that works. But other than that, I thought the grant was really, it painted the picture that in a way that I could actually see how this work was getting done throughout the year, not, that these relationships were solid relationships, and that was really refreshing.
I'll also just add, I was really impressed with the credentials of the project manager.
Yes.
And to see Connor Prairie investing not only in contract positions, but also like permanent positions for this project.
I agree.
Okay, panelists, do please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Finished, Jolivet? Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving to number 10, culture through expressions. Our first reader is Elias.
Thank you. Reading through culture through expression, I feel like the application was really well done. There are 3 Indiana artists that are going to be benefiting from this project. And I felt like from what was described that it would provide a very meaningful and impactful experience for the people involved. Some things to improve on. I wish there was a little bit more detail on how surveys from their previous years had informed their approach this year, which this year they wanted to do one-on-one experiences with the artist and the clients that they call. And then I also wish that their marketing would have given us a better understanding of the type of work and the results from these collaborations with the clients. And I'm not sure if that is because of the people that they're working with that they're not able to share that, but I feel like it could have made the application a little bit stronger and given us a better picture of what they're trying to accomplish.
Thank you. Our second reader is Ellen Rempala. Ellen?
I agree with what Elias said. I felt like I wanted to know a little bit more about this project, and I was maybe looking for that through the marketing. And it does seem like they are very community oriented and involved from planning through the evaluating stages. But I did question too, yeah, I want a little bit more information about how this evaluation process is accomplished for them. I did have a question under their budget. There was an in-kind donation included in the cash income, and then in total project in kind, that same amount was included in there. So in my brain, I don't think things added up with the money there. I don't know what I was maybe looking at wrong or overlooking, but that was a little bit confusing to me.
Panelists, do you have any other additional comments or concerns?
You don't
I
really
have the same
think that,
concern regarding the income. I said the income and expense did not match exactly on paper. And I had a question about the in-kind as well, and that was it.
I don't really have an answer for either of those questions, but there are things about this I liked, especially the fact that there is a follow-up. I liked the survey. I liked the post-evaluation. I liked that they had personal visits. They had emails, they had phone calls. So when they reached these people, they weren't just a one and done. There was a connection and a relationship. So I thought that was really good. And personally, I was thinking, you know, why just the local part of Indy? I think that kind of a project actually could go larger. I think it's I like the feedback. I like the follow up.
All right, panelists, do please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, all right. Moving along, number 11, Discovering Broadway. Our first reader is Caitlin Coyne.
So Discovering Broadway, the project titled Broadway Masterclass. This project was pretty interesting because it leverages some connections from the main mission of this program to offer opportunities for underserved youth to get involved with arts and arts careers and get some one-on-one mentorship from professionals, which is a pretty unique opportunity in terms of the artistic impact and meaning for those that would get to participate. One question I had about that, though, is it seemed like it was a pretty limited availability for participation in this project. They did seem to have lots of partnerships with local organizations. I think they mentioned Elevate Indy, Black Expo, and the Sante Children's Theater as 3 of their partners to reach into the underserved communities they're seeking to get into these programs. And they had a demonstrated diversity in the makeup of their past classes and in the documentation of their past classes. So that was great. And they also talked about their strategies for measuring their impact through the testimonials of participants. So they did provide information about that. It seems that they have adequate staff to run the program, and their timeline felt complete, although again, I wish I would have gotten some more detail about how the recruitment and selection process happens for these, including auditions and for the class participants. And I was also a little bit confused about their project budget, which overall seemed reasonable, but it didn't mention how, if there were scholarships available to people to participate, or what cost it would be for people to participate. I was confused about that. And I thought that connected to the idea work, because this seems like a very exclusive sort of thing to get to participate in. And I was confused about how they were making space for people to be able to participate in this. And I wish they would have been more explicit about that.
Thank you, Caitlin. Our second reader is Jolivet. Jolivet.
Unmute myself. So the questions that I had were under the artistic quality and artistic benefit. I was wondering if the 20 artists were Indiana youth artists. To me, that wasn't clear at the point that I was reading the application. And is the funding directed toward the cost of the workshop and masterclass? If so, good, okay, but that needs to be made clear, and that the children under 18 and the artists are the same people for the purpose of the grant. So I was trying to process that and trying to figure that out based on how the grant was written. So maybe that could be a little bit clearer. Or if anybody can tell me that I'm not understanding it, and that's perfectly fine. I appreciate that. I can see that they established relationship with other arts organization, and that was really good, that serve underserved communities. And that was evident in the grant. How young artists are engaged with directly is a bit confusing when trying to process and understand the community engagement part. And I understand that there must be a pathway to engage with under 18. So the concern is likely addressed in how the organization is structured, but a few more sentences to clarify some things on how the young people get to this experience would have been helpful. And that was specifically dealing with the under 18 group. Regarding project participation figures, the early language in the grant says 5,000 to be used for 5 underserved youth in Indiana. And then later it says the direct and indirect benefits financial go to 21 people. If that means the whole budget of the organization, and not, that's fine. The score can be raised. My score can be raised a bit. Accessibility related to ability and disability is either missing or does not apply to this project, which means it is lacking in the IDEA. And I'm unclear what organizing swag is. There's, and I don't know what that is. Organization swag is, and I'm concerned about the gifts to participants that were listed in there, and was unsure how the state money would be used for those particular line items. So it was just a little bit not clear. I'm probably just too old to know what organization swag is. I think that's all I have.
I'll clarify from our perspective of our policy. If it's a supply of any kind, that is an allowable expense, unless it's a permanent capital expense, like a permanent fixture in a building or something like that. But otherwise, other kinds of supplies, even if they're called gifts, would probably, as long as they're related to the project, would be an allowable expense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the panel have comments?
Yeah, I do.
Concerns?
And maybe I'm confused too, but kind of what I read was they would bring in people to coach these kids as far as theatrical. They were paying the outsiders to bring to actually do this coaching. And I was kind of wondering again, and maybe again, like I sound like a broken record, but okay, you coach the kids, and then when they go back, is there follow-up with the kids? And a little concerning about the one and done again, just say, okay, we're here for 2 weeks. And then, so what's the follow-up after that? Do we have local theatrical coaches here that continue working with the kids? Is there a follow-up? Or is it just the 2 weeks with the cast member, you're good, okay, here's training. And then it did mention that there had been relationships formed, and that's a good thing. But anyway, so it was a little confusing to me. I want to see something about a follow-up, that even after these people come, that these kids are continually being reached and coached.
Yeah, and I'll clarify that sustainability isn't a criteria of the grant. However, what I'm hearing you say is more that that's related to kind of clarity of the goal of the project.
Right.
And that is part of the criteria.
Seeing discussion is finished, I'll ask the panelists to please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Okay, great. All ready? Okay. Caitlin, I believe you are going to leave us for the next two because you have a conflict of interest. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Number 12 is Early Learning Indiana. And our first reader is Elias Garza.
So for this application, I really appreciate Early Learning Indiana's commitment to providing family engagement activities. This is a partnership with Arts for Learning artists. And I felt like the application gave us a really good background in terms of information, and as well as a really good set of strategies for community engagement and idea. There seems to be an appropriate amount of staff to carry this through, and their timeline looks really good from what I can tell. What I think it's a really unique part of this project is that it also kind of has a placemaking flair to it, where children and parents are going to be working together to create something that's going to live within the community and they'll see it. And I think that has a really good opportunity to build pride and to build those connections between parents and kids and also the schools. So overall, I thought this was a really good application.
Thank you. Our second reader is Ellen Rampala. Ellen?
I thought that it was great for this family event that there was even a contingency plan, a virtual plan, should the pandemic still require it in August. About the timeline, when I read the timeline, I saw that they were starting it in early July for a late August event. And I thought, well, that seems a bit rushed, but they've done similar events like this before. The team seems like they're experienced. And based on the write-up, I'm sure that they are in the process of planning this right now, it seems like. And I thought it was excellent how this applicant went from there was an optimal enrichment for students there at their centers to free enrichments for all. And they decided to do that after looking at data and demographics from what they originally offered. So that was great that they are planning now this free event and reaching out to a lot more families.
Panelists, any other comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I thought it was really great planning and thinking ahead due to COVID as well, to have outside activities plans and things of that nature. I did have to do a bit of mental gymnastics initially to try to understand how the grant said they were not a school. And then right after that, it's in the project summary, described the organization as a school. So it just, if there was more explicit language that shows the difference between K-12 and how your organization works with K-12 or preparing for K-12, it would have been easier on me, on the reader of the application, because it said not a school and then it said we're a school. So just a bit more clarity initially to make that clear from the onset instead of having to figure it out later on down the line.
Okay, panelists, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Okay. Moving along, our last grant is number 13, the Fishers Arts Council. And our first reader is Joe Levette. Joe Levette? Oh. Joe Levette, we can't. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was having some clicking, not opening issues once again.
Okay, sure.
We're good. Okay.
Okay.
I have in my notes here, it says, I think this was a well-written and provided detail and explanations that could clearly be followed and understood. So I definitely did appreciate that part. I gave high marks on the marketing material. It helped me understand things a little bit better and move forward. But there were some concerns. Hold on just a second here. The audience diversity matches the diversity of the city according to the grant. So the IDEA is met with regard to facility and responding to feedback from previous years. The example that I put on here was they listen to the participants and they're going to have like a stroller area for parents with small children. So that does show that their work has been done in previous years and that they're actually listening to participants and that measuring instrument is actually in place. And I thought that was just one brief example of, well, there were other examples of that, but that was one brief example that I would point out as meeting the goals and objectives of the grant. And then I understood the budget. Let's see what else I have on here. I think that's all that I have. Everything was clear. It was well written and I could understand what was going on and I could even vision what was happening. And I actually even understood the budget. So that was really good for me. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Our second reader is Brian Russelberg. Brian?
Yeah, hi. I like that the live events. I think there's a lot of spontaneity and questions that happen with that. And also agreeing, Joel, a bit that the group appears to have done their research and their surveys and followed up on people's requests of hands-on events and being kid-friendly. The IDEA portion in serving the underserved, earlier in their proposal, they mentioned that it wasn't just for that area, it's for expanding areas all around. But then they said that part of the diversity they would just go to the Hamilton Southeastern schools. I don't know if I can, but may I suggest also perhaps going to Lawrence North and some of the surrounding high schools around there also, and expanding that out as far as getting, asking those folks to pass the word. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments, panelists? Concerns? Okay, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you to all the attendees today and to the panelists. This concludes the fiscal year 2022 Region 7 Arts Project Support Panel number 1. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'm sorry. I just was letting you guys know I'm doing a quick test. So we're still live at the moment. I'm making sure that I can actually change hosts for a meeting this afternoon. It looks like it's still that way. Perfect. Okay, so I'm ending the stream. Thank you for your patience.